pleased to welcome Mike Sawchuk to the program. And Mike, it's great to have you to talk about this article you wrote for us. I hope you're doing well.
Thank you, Jeff. And yes, I'm doing very well.
The article in question is the lead feature in the March-April issue of ISSA Today, which if people are watching this, they might be reading it as well, or it could be a preview for them. And I'll put on screen what this article looks like. Great topic, though, when we think about challenges. The topic is effectively tackling workforce challenges. And in the article, you mentioned 7 strategies and tips for leading a custodial team. And I'll mention what those are briefly, and then we'll get your thoughts. Okay. You cover higher client expectations, labor, supply chain shortages, lack of quality leadership, doing more with less, union relations, and pandemic preparedness. That's a lot of stuff, Mike. However, I have to ask, is there more? What do you have to say?
Well, there's probably a few more things that could have been added. They're somewhat related, but I would say one key thing is I think we're living in a time of information overload, almost like we're drowning in information, but we're starving for that knowledge. You know, if it's on LinkedIn, if it's magazines, we're constantly getting bombarded. Try this. Here's new technologies. Here's new products within those technologies. Here's new procedures. Here's new protocols. And given the challenge that we're currently having in managing the workforce, where do you find the time? You know, which ones do you consider? Which ones do you review? Which ones do you work into your cleaning operation? It's a challenge that must be managed, because if you don't keep up the technology, you're going to get left behind. So I think that would be one of the additional ones, Jeff. Second one probably be tied to that is robotics, information of things, artificial intelligence. It's just going to be interesting. I don't have the answer, mind you, but it's going to be interesting to watch what impact will that have on cleaning up, managing of cleaning operations. I do believe it's probably going to drive effectiveness, efficiency, productivity over time. I think is going to drive and help out the labor shortages, be able to use some robotics as an example to offset shortages or take people away from some of those mundane, more repetitive tasks and let robotics use it and apply that skilled labor to more detailed type cleaning where greater value can be added. And I think another part, Jeff, is going to be in this age of real-time information. There's going to be multiple stakeholders, and they're going to have access or wanting access to real-time information. What impact will that have on the management and scrutiny or setting the standards of cleaning and cleaning operations? So I think that's a second key one addition to the 7. Tied to that, I think, is going to be managing expectations. In the article, I talked about heightened expectations, but how do you manage that? And I think you need to have proactive communications. Tell people what you're doing and why. And conversely, I think you need to also be proactive and tell them what you're not doing and why. And different facilities have different needs and requirements, have different stakeholders. But it'd be very remiss and it'd be very inappropriate and probably lead to going down the wrong rabbit hole if people are not proactively managing what they're doing and why, and what they're not doing and why. And probably the fourth thing, and it's tied to probably that labor, tied to some of the article, I really believe is people. I think the quality of people, let it be your custodians, your supervisors, your managers, your director of custodial operations, they far, far outweigh the 4 Ps, the product, procedures, protocols, and policies set in place. And so many people are focusing on just the 4 Ps. And I say, no, it's the quality of your people, their skills, their attitudes, and their DNA in particular, that's critical. And I think the ones who are able to better attract, recruit, develop, and retain the people, the ones with the best people possible, are going to beat out their competition long term. So it's just that, whole industry, it's not like that people are rushing to join the cleaning industry, but if you're a BSc or you're a school board or a university, if you're able to attract better people and retain and develop better people than your competition, that is going to lead to better results over the long term. And I think that's a challenge that should be managed, not just accept what comes your way, Jeff.
Great information, Mike. Maybe we should do a part two, but you've laid it out nicely. More to think about besides what we see in print with your comments here. Appreciate that.
And Jeff, I think there's a lot of bright people in our industry. That's why I'm a junkie for information too. So I'm guilty of that first one, information overload and starving for more knowledge. There's a lot of bright individual in the industry, and clearly these are probably not the only 7 or 11 challenges. There's a lot more, but I think what's most important is people need to understand their particular situation, their particular stakeholders, and be effective in their management of it. Just don't leave it by chance.
So Mike, talk to us about any key pillars driving change in our industry. I don't believe you got into that too much in the article.
It's a great question, Jeff. What else would I expect from yourself in the ISSA? The frustrations or the challenges, whatever you want to call them, it's like a pancake. For one, it's a challenge. For someone else, is going to be an opportunity. Or for the leadership and management that's more astute, is going to change those challenge and create an opportunity for themselves. So what I think the 4 or 5 key pillars that are going to start growing legs within our industry, or these are the things that are going to probably be longer than shorter for us, would be probably number 1 is the constant need to receive information, to consider, to compare and test on their own site specific the new technologies, and within that the new products. And I think that'd be remiss. I think that any organization that isn't keeping up to date to that challenge of all these new technologies, on one hand, it's a challenge, but the pillar is going to be those that are able to actively and proactively manage the comparing of it, the consideration of it, the testing of it, et cetera, within their organization. And like I said earlier, there's so much happening that you need to manage that process. It ain't just going to happen by itself. And if you don't manage it proactively, you could get left behind and it'd be just too late to catch up on learning technology like artificial intelligence or Internet of Things or robotics. So that's the first key pillar that's going to be around the constant need to review, compare, test, and implement new technologies that's best fits your particular situation. The second one I would say would be data. I think that, again, tied to Internet of Things, tied to artificial intelligence, there's going to, as you know, Jeff, the more and the better the data, the better the decision making. The better the decision making, the better your outputs, or the better the results. And from that, you're going to find the growing of collecting the data, reporting the data, and using that data. And that's going to come from things like, number 1, and let it be the Internet of Things, smart dispensers, putting monitors or sensors for indoor air quality, having monitors for traffic within a building so that you know what type of foot traffic we get at what time, et cetera, that could drive the protocols. I think other information technology is going to be assessments. I think more and more people are going to recognize that we need to, how do you know if our operation is good or good enough? The fact that we get no noise, the fact that no one's complaining, the fact that my manager says all is good. How do you know how it compares to best in class? What is best in class? So I think over time, you're going to see more and more people saying, what is best in class? We need to compare ourselves to that best in class. And then from there, use that to develop an improvement plan. Tied to that, I think, is going to be benchmarking. The need to understand true benchmarks, and that's going to be used to help, I think, eventually pick better BSEs. You're going to eventually get the data so well that it's going to say, okay, how does this BSE compare to what they delivered, to what was promised? What are their costs? What's their length of contract? Turnover on contract. So I think the benchmarking to different criteria is going to be something that's going to grow legs from that. So assessments, benchmarking, Internet of Things, all going to be more data, better data to drive better decision making. The third thing is, and I talked about it, touched upon it, is as a challenge, but I think it's going to be the focus on better people. I think more and more executives of organizations are going to come to the realization that says it's okay to have the best products and procedures and do this great marketing, but the only thing that makes a difference is the people. if your people are better than my people, of course you're going to be making better decisions. And really, what it comes down to is how do you differentiate if you're a Janssen distributor, or even if you're a BSC? It's going to be, how do I give better customer experience? And the way you give a better customer experience is that your people will know the customers better, think those customers better, treat those customers better. So the ones that are really becoming active and managing to attract, recruit, develop, retain the better people, to invest in more training, better education, better training, retraining or upskilling their leadership. I think it's going to go so far as, a systematic approach of getting rid of some of their leaders to bring in some of the ones that have the better skills. No more of this thing, well, Mike, you've been here with us for 30 years, you're going to stick around. No, Mike, if you don't have those leadership skills, it's too important for us moving forward. So we may have to make room for those better leaders. And probably developing a whole systematic approach of curating that type of talent. I touched upon already, but the fourth point would be more education. What you guys do, the ISSA does, SIMS, it's really providing education. And to me, education, Jeff, is the why. Why is cleaning so important? Why is what you do as a custodian so important? And you need to educate them on the why, and then provide the training, how to, the procedures, et cetera. So the more education, training, retraining, coaching, setting clear expectations, not just to do it, but set clear expectations on trying to get an ROI on that training. And then from there is invest in that, as we talked about, or in the article at least, is having some career development for the custodian. So nobody really wants to join as a custodian, be a custodian necessarily. Maybe not no one, but a lot of people don't want to be a custodian the rest of their life. So what career path have you have? And I think education will flow into that. And the last thing is tied to, again, I think robotics, artificial information, with scrubbers and vacuums and UVC devices. I think that's going to help with the labor shortages. That's going to help lower overall costs for those mundane tasks, walking behind an auto scrubber or riding an auto scrubber, et cetera. But I would think that those would be the 5 areas, 5 buckets as it grow legs. Like I said, the constant need for reviewing, comparing new technology and bringing in what makes sense for you. The focusing on better and more data to make better decisions. The focus on better people for yourself, and then tied to that is better people, give them better education, and then using robotics for driving down costs where you can, and reallocating labor to drive up your cleaning results, and accommodating any shortage concerns that you're having.
Well, it's a lot to do. Can we get it done by Wednesday?
Well, maybe Wednesday, if not Thursday morning for sure, Jeff.
So we're talking about a plan that might take a bit of time, but what do you do with the plan? You implement the ideas.
And I think that's what really the important thing is moving from reactive management, the old definition of control and supervise and allocate the resources, et cetera, to someone that's now leadership, really trying to understand what is that vision, and making those critical decisions to understand where are we today, where are we wanting to go. And then, like you said, not only develop a plan that's got the right strategies, the right tactics, the right plans, the right resources in place, marching those resources to that plan. But it's one thing to have a plan, but most important is execution. I think that's where the leadership's going to come by, is developing and ensuring execution. And the way you're going to get that done is people. If you don't have people that are engaged, empowered to make their own decisions, if you don't have people that are motivated to do what's right all the time and delivering consistent results, high levels of clean, safe, and healthy, it's going to be hard to get things done. So the challenges of today will lead to certain ones are going to allow pillars to grow legs, and those pillars will be able to best mitigate those challenges and separate the men from the boys, the winners from the losers, who's going to win the races and who's not. But it's going to come to what you just said there, is ones that are providing better leadership, better strategic decision-making, and investing in the new technologies, people and their development, and making room for better leaders, as opposed to just worrying about managers and not to degrade the managers, but recognizing that leadership where they are, developing that environment of trust, engagement, motivation, empowerment. That's more critical than managers. They're all important, but leadership and that developing that culture. And then the other thing would be that alignment. Jeff, it's clear that a lot of people today, they want authentic relationships. So if they join an organization, whatever that mission statement reads or vision or their core values, guiding principles, they want to ensure that if that's what it says on the pillars and little wallet-sized cards, you're living it, that management and leadership is holding people accountable to it. And I think that's really what developing that right culture and having alignment of strategy, mission, vision, tactics, core values, and the people together. And that takes good leadership. And I think that's why it's one of the 5 people.